The Immaterial Games Podcast with these guys.
Happy 7-7, everybody.
Yeah, 7-7!
It means nothing.
It does, it means... Oh, actually, 7-7 means something to us over here, not in a good way.
What does
So-
7-7 mean in
So
the UK?
you know how how you had 9/11?
Oh, okay. This is a good start.
7-7 was when the when Islamic extremists bombed various tubes or underground trains in London
Oh,
and a bomb on a bus.
wow.
So,
I'll never forget, I guess.
Yeah. So we apologise. We're just hoping that you actually have a nice.
Blame Canada.
They're not a
It's
real
not a
country
real country anyway.
We don't know anything about UK bombings.
No.
That's a lie. You probably know more than us.
I don't think Canada would do that. They're too apologetic.
Why? Just like the next country that's going to claim that oil tanker Gibraltar's got right.
Oh shit! Someone took over the Canadian Parliament. I'm sorry.
I love this.
It's like
yeah.
BRB.
Yeah, this is. This is the most
This is the most weirdly political
opening to a games
opening
podcast.
ramble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the most.
And now for
political.
something completely different.
Yeah. Welcome to the Immaterial Gamers Podcast, episode 49. We're one off
Rule
50.
2! Rule 2!
Podcast / rule 49.
Rule 2!
He's trying so hard.
I'm
Ryan.
not trying. This is rule 2. You didn't
That's
announce the
Steph.
real shit until last week. So this is rule
Yeah.
2.
And the one keeping himself out of this argument is Duncan.
That's me. Hi. I'm Duncan.
Hi.
There we go. And this is a very chill situation that we're in, even though, we have talked initially about poorly timed celebrations of days that aren't to be celebrated. And I heard myself.
I don't know where you heard that from.
I heard celebrated twice.
Wasn't me.
Maybe you're just listening to the voices in your own head.
Turns
Turns out your inner voice is the same as your outer voice. So you're like kind of crazy, but not really.
I like to
You know
point
what?
out mine are complete opposite.
you know what? I'll take it. I'll take the fact that I am sort of crazy and my inner and outer voices argue with each other. Generally, it's always in the middle of the night and all. It's never
So it's
great.
when you're asleep.
Yeah, where I have the least
I
control.
hear the secrets that you keep when you're thinking in your sleep.
Oh Jesus! So we're having the oddest warm up to the podcast that we've had in nearly 50 weeks.
This isn't the
Ooh.
oddest.
Nope. Haha.
It's a different segment.
Yep. Thank you, Duncan. Now, I've noticed on this point that we're either 1 or 3 podcasts away from Darius failing to have completed Vampire.
Failing to
Just-
complete
just-
what?
Vampire.
All I got was failed to complete. And it was like, what?
Supposed to
It's
do it
like,
in
are we
like a
expecting
year or
something here?
Well, yeah, we're expecting Darius to have completed that game.
He's not completing no game.
Didn't he set himself like a 1-year limit or something?
Yeah. He promised me about 20 podcasts ago that he would complete it by either episode 50 or by the year special.
I'd like to point out that he's probably not even started it.
That's okay. He promised to put out an episode of Sibling Rivalry every week, but sip.
And Shattered Reflections. I think it's just
that
something
one.
that we're just having
Dual-
trouble with at this point.
Dual play. I'm blaming
Shadow
him.
Reflections has been shattered.
Oh no, we will get back to that. I say we got some time to sort that. It will return. Dual
And
play
it
will
will
arrive.
start. it will start.
Yeah. Sibling rivalry.
Rivalry. Sibling Rivalry will return after these messages.
do you know what that reminds me of? What's his name from Big Bang Theory?
Oh, Kripke.
Yeah.
Oh, I will return. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you go do that. Fucking fucking list can just disappear right now. But yeah, no, they will all happen. Maybe. I mean, whether Darius completes Vampire or not, or Vampire, whether it's, now or at the closure of Immaterial Gamers.
But when we're all retiring, that's when he'll do it.
Yeah, yeah. Hey guys, wait, can we do one more podcast? It's like, no, we've quit 4 years ago. Why? I finally completed it.
You really think I'm going to be doing this until 4 years before my retirement? You have high hopes.
Please. I said that we got this 5-year plan. I don't know if we're going to get to the 5 years, but I'll damn well try. I don't know. If this ends up if it ever becomes successful, you'd think that it'd be nice for people to make some sort of money, maybe. Am I hopeful?
You are hopeful.
Am I deluded?
Because you're thinking about the money. No one's gonna like you thinking about the money. What you have to think about is the people. Think about the people.
Well,
hopeful,
I'm thinking about
yes.
the people
Deluded,
having money.
Crazy?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. I fucking thing. Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, in order to keep everyone's attention going, I guess that's the end of the warm-up. So it'll be time to move to that section that we like to know as what's been played.
What's being played?
So,
I have a question now that we're getting into the game section.
yes.
Since I wasn't on last week's podcast. How much have we talked about Teamfight Tactics?
Last
we
week
explained
we
quite a
all
bit.
talked about Teamfight Tactics.
It was the group thing last week.
Yeah. So if you want to do some individual experiences on Teamfight Tactics, go ahead.
We can announce we've all at least won one.
Yeah.
We've all
Shame
won
none
a
of
game.
us were streaming or recording or any of it.
No, I posted my updates on Twitter.
So we've talked about. So you guys
I've got
talked about
pictures on Discord.
Yeah.
So you guys talked about.
Use them pictures. Show them now. Show them.
Okay, for the video podcast, here are some pictures of our wins. And now, Duncan?
So you guys talked about how the game is played. Did you go into anything about your opinion of how good it is, anything that needs to be changed or anything like that?
I mean, we sort of briefly talked about, a couple of the bugs in it. Melee bugs.
Yeah, we talked about some of the mechanics of the game. We've not spoke. See, while we were doing it, we kind of drifted off and ended up kind of looking into other stuff on the game.
Yeah, I mean, the mechanics of the
item fusions and
and sort of team comps we didn't fully go into. We broadly outlined sort of what the game was and how you played it, and then a couple of little stories about what we did in it. And if you want to go into a bit more of a sort of a deep dive on that, Duncan, the floor is yours, sir.
I'm trying to think of whether that's what I want to do or I want to do something else. I'm trying to do I want to talk about just about TFT or can you come back to me? I might think about how I want to do my bit.
I'll come back to you. I'll do one of those rare things then, and I'll open the floor of what's been played. This will come up in the news a little bit later, but I was on my PlayStation this weekend due to the PS Plus games of the month. One of them was some weird car game which I've not downloaded yet, and the other was supposed to be Pro Evolution Soccer 2019.
Oh,
and I wasn't happy
God,
about
you didn't get that one.
Yeah, because last minute, literally last minute, it was replaced with the game that I played, Detroit Become Human.
Detroit,
yes.
So
Detroit Become Human. Yes, the one with the androids.
Indeed it is. And Steph, you were about to say something.
In Detroit, a city.
It is a city, but it's also the name of this game. And for those who are wanting to know what Detroit Become Human is, it is the latest game from French movie makers and also game developers Quantic Dream and David Cage. And it's another cinematic experience where this time, and this is the stupid one, you play as androids in a Blade Runner-like scenario where you sympathise for the androids. I'll give you some spoilers now. Blade Runner, you sympathise with the androids. Anyway,
I agree
So
with
it
all the
plays,
above.
sure, it plays like Heavy Rain. You got multiple characters.
Oh, is this what you were talking to me about before? Now, when I was saying I don't think Heavy Game was that good of a good game anyway.
Yes.
Ah.
So we did, yeah. Pre-podcast, I was talking about sort of Heavy Rain beforehand, or how I was saying that Detroit may be my best Quantic Dream game, taking over Heavy Rain. So it plays like Heavy Rain's narrative structure. It is entirely linear, and you will play as each of the three characters in the game, which are Connor, a police detective android whose job it is to find deviant or what they're calling malfunctioning androids and to destroy or otherwise get rid of them. You also play as Marcus, a carer droid, originally caring for his elderly, sort of an elderly man, and then suddenly becoming the leader of the androids.
The android uprising.
Yeah. And then the last character you play is Kara, a housemaid android who goes on the run with a young child to try and escape to Canada and escape her abusive, I'd say husband, more the abusive father of said child. And same as Heavy Rain, sort of disjointed chapters. You're flipping from one character to the other. The same Quantic Dream business happens in every single game. Virtually every action you do is by some sort of motion control or key press or quick time event, and then there's cutscenes in between each one. But it plays a little different in the fact that it does have a relationship system. It's an old morality system thing. You're either going to go all the way to the left and hostilities, or you're going to go all the way to the right. But it's interesting that they do have it. Sort of each character has a couple of friendships that they do, and then there are a couple of overarching relationships as well, or stats that come through. So all three characters will have individual relationships with other characters that they meet, and they'll have friendship levels from the highest of being loyal or lover or family or friend down to hostile, hated, and such. All three characters overall have a stat called public opinion, which determines what the humans think of the android's actions going through the game. And then finally, Connor has a stat called software instability, which determines his allegiances at the end of the game. And so you'll go through all the chapters. There'll be various options based on what you look at, what you don't, who you interact with, who you don't, how you interact with them, and other little secret bits that will allow other varying, but generally beneficial dialogue points that may not be used in the chapter itself, but will be important later down the line. Say, for example, with Connor, there may be clues that you find and miss in all of the chapters, but there's a specific chapter point where he has to review all the evidence that he's obtained so far, and how you solve that puzzle depends on what you did running up to that point.
So if you're a bad detective, yes, that doesn't go so well.
It doesn't go well. I mean, there was a situation where I picked up a diary that had some decryption stuff in there to figure out where the location of these deviant androids were. But because the guy who I obtained the notebook off, just ran off and committed suicide, preventing me learning that information, that bit was useless. So I had to do a puzzle where I had to trick an android who shot herself into giving the location of Jericho is the place by taking her decapitated lover and shoving it in front of her face, tricking her into thinking she was there. So if I managed to not get that guy killed and did something there, it would have probably been a little bit easier for me. But it's one of the games that I've known that it's got a massive fucking flowchart. After every chapter, it'll show every choice you made and everything that you did compared to what other choices that there were in the level, whether you've unlocked them or not, and also has stats on how many people chose the same as you when you went through it.
Yeah, that's the exact same as Heavy Rain, because Heavy Rain did the exact same thing, didn't it?
To a point, it didn't have the massive flowchart, it just showed you
No, at the end of it,
sort
it
of
was like,
options you took.
this is the option you picked. Let's say 80% of people have picked this option.
Mm.
And it was like that for every option you had in the game.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But it also sort of shows what options were choices and what options sort of were events, whether a character would have died at that point, whether it is a cross-chapter event. So it sort of let people know, or it lets players know what will be important later on, rather than the stuff in Heavy Rain where it just said, yeah, you made this choice and this is how many people made it. So it gives you that ability to play back. And yeah, you know what? I enjoyed it. Story-wise, it was as ham-fisted as every other Quantic Dream game, but it
Press
managed
X
to
to
get.
emancipate.
Yeah.
That's a stolen thumbnail joke.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't claim credit for that.
No, I know where that comes from, but yeah, no, you know what? It worked this time. I think maybe the story sort of worked a bit more. There was a bit more emotional attachment than there was to Heavy Rain, and definitely compared to what there was in Beyond.
I never played
So-
Beyond.
It's awkward. Beyond is an awkward game, and it's a shame because it had Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe in it, and you thought that could have been made into something much more, but it didn't. Yeah, Detroit. Oh yeah, no, I actually enjoyed that, and I will go back through and probably play that again. And what I actually do like, and this is a spoiler, when you start the game up, there is a android by the name of Chloe, who just speaks to you, helps you get the game set up, and starts playing it. But because she's an android as well, and as the events of the game go on, she starts to become a bit deviant as well. To the point where you've completed the game, and at that point she just goes, "So I want to leave. Will you let me leave?" And if you say yeah, she'll just go, "Oh, thank you. I'm free. Bye." And then you load up the game going forward now, and there's just an empty room where this android used to be. Never for her to return.
Oh god, it's like Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah, it does have that sort of feel to it.
Okay, what happens if you say no, though?
If you say no, she'll reset herself.
Ah.
So her personality is gone regardless of what you do.
But then in the next one, I'm assuming if you continue to play it, you rebuild her person.
Not. It's unsure. It's uncertain. Not many people sort of explain what happens afterwards. It's assumed that she just stays there at that point.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, no, I enjoyed it, and I think I'll go through and see what some of the other options are. I'm sort of reluctant to do it normally because of the fact that I like sort of these heavily narrative focused games. I like the fact that the playthrough that I've done is my story. Any mistakes I've made, any achievements I've earned are mine and mine alone. So it feels a bit weird then trying to 100% complete the game, making choices that I wouldn't normally make. So, we'll see how it goes. So, based off that, are you ready, Duncan, or shall I move on to Steph?
I think leave me to the end.
Okay. Steph,
Yeah.
what have you played?
Nothing new, except for I've been playing a new mod pack on Minecraft.
Okay, well, in that case, go talk new mod pack on Minecraft.
It's Sky Factory, but number 4.
Sky Factory 4. What
Sky
happened to Sky Factory 3?
We actually did play it. I can't remember how it actually went. Give me a second. I just need to remember.
That well, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I have not played a Minecraft Sky Factory for quite a bit, and I'm not normally the first one to actually play it. It's normally Terra. This is the first one I've played straight off the bat myself.
Alright.
And it's like every other Sky Factory. You start on an island that's in the middle of nowhere. Basically, a little floating island with nothing else, with one tree on it, one piece of dirt. Basically, it's an island of a piece of dirt and a tree. You're on top of that tree. So from there, you have to take that tree, build out, plant more trees, keep building out until you can get to a point where you can then build yourself further. So in different versions, there's different ways to advance. It's like In this one, it seems to be very tree based. It's like you start off with dirt tree. You
Right.
plant more dirt trees, you get acorns of dirt, and dirt acorns I think they're called. Yeah, they are called dirt acorns, and you also get dirt resin, and you can fuse them together to make dirt blocks themselves, so you can plant more trees. But then you can, I think you wash. I think if I remember correctly, you wash or you dry out the dirt, and it kind of makes like a cobble version of it.
How do
And
you wash dirt?
basically, it's a dirty acorn, and I washed a dirty acorn to make a better
A
acorn.
clean dirt acorn?
It doesn't turn into a clean dirt acorn. It just turns into, let's say, cobble acorn or gravel acorn. Basically, you wash all the dirt
Okay.
off. Basically, let's just stick your hand in the ground, pick up a load of dirt, wash all the dirt off, and what you left with. If you get rid of all the
Okay.
dirt, that's the way it basically is. That's the way the acorns and that work anyway. And then from there, you continue going on. Like at the minute, I've got dirt tree, gravel tree, bone tree, sand tree. I'm trying to make an iron tree at the minute, which is going to take me quite a bit because I need to make lava and I need to figure out how to do that. But yeah, at the minute I've got quite a few trees. I've got bone tree, sand, cobble tree. I've got a lot of trees at the minute and just a giant wooden platform.
Okay.
So I'm actually enjoying it. It's also got Tinkerer's constructs into it, where you make all your tools and that, and they level up as you use them.
Right.
And then, with Tinker's construct, you can then add buffs onto your tools. So at the minute, I've just got basic tools that are leveling up with no buffs, because I have nothing to buff them with, because I am lowly.
Ooh.
I have a bed though. I think I have a cotton tree as well, which I have actually planted quite a few of. I've got a coal tree as well. I forgot about that coal tree. I've only got 15 of them. I need to grow more.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just like a normal Sky Factory, but at the start of this one, it's very tree based.
Okay.
I'm trying to make iron so I can automate the trees a little bit more. So that means I don't have to spend this much time chopping down and growing them.
Mhm.
Because they have a special thing called botany pot. Like a little botany. It's like if you take it by way we look at it, it's like you know when you get botany plants that are in them little thin trays and that.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit like that, but with this they grow and it harvests it for you. So basically anything I would get from a normal tree, it would get for me. But let's say the tree grows faster, but you don't get as many resources off it. So it'll take a few seconds for this tree to grow, and it'll give me, let's say, one of every resource that you can get from that tree.
Right.
So at the minute, I'm trying to automate that. So that means I don't have to sit here growing trees like a lunatic and cutting them down. You think I'm kidding? I've got 6, 12, 13, 15 trees growing at once for me to cut down for me just to make more gravel.
Oh dear. Good old
Yeah.
gravel trees though.
Gravel trees. It's weird because if you look at the tree, have you ever played Minecraft?
I've played Minecraft, yeah.
You know, like when you get gold ore and all the rest of it, and you just see a stone with a bit of gold in it.
Mhm.
That's the trees at the minute is just wood with what looks like a bit of silvery stuff in it. That's meant to be the gravel. They've literally took that texture and just added it to the tree bark.
Fair dues. Well, in that case, I'll be looking forward to seeing how your sky factory of weird trees
Well, to be honest,
actually operate.
this is more of a test because I'm trying to get Terry to put up a server, hopefully. And if he
Yeah.
does put up a server, I'm hoping to record some Minecraft. From the
Ooh.
very beginning. Do it from the very
Okay.
beginning. One person's view as a team, and they'll be like, we could do this! And work together to do a goal. So there might be times when we go into it and it'll be like, okay, I need to show you some of the advancements we have made off camera and do this, because we don't want to sit here for half an hour cutting down trees on thing unless we're going to do a live stream for it.
Fair enough. Hey, well, you know what? I'd look forward to seeing that.
To be honest, I have only thought of it because Minecraft's become very popular again recently.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah, it's the way. If it's the way it works, like what we've been doing with Teamfight Tactics, and what we might as well announce here. Maybe I'll do it after Duncan talks about Teamfight Tactics, though.
We're announcing that.
Mm.
Indeed.
So, yes,
Does,
Duncan.
does Duncan
it is
even
time.
know what the Indeed is for?
So I think that's probably the best way to really get into like the meat of teamfight tactics and
Yep.
and my thoughts on it would probably be to compare it. So I'm
yeah.
the only one here
yes.
who has played
You've played.
the two main auto chess games right now, which is Teamfight Tactics and Dota Underlords.
Yep.
Dota Underlords being the Valve auto chess game based on the original Dota 2 auto chess mod.
Which in
And-
itself is based on, which is used in Dota 2, which in itself is a game based on a mod that was in. And no, we talked about that a couple of weeks back.
There's it's an endless rabbit. These companies, it's just an endless rabbit hole of people taking things from other people and making new games out of it. It's
Mhm.
You could literally go back to the beginning of time with it. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so the two main ones for now, with more on the way, are Dota Underlords and Teamfight Tactics, and I'm the only one here who's played them both. So I have a
Yep.
pretty good idea of how they compare, what's similar and what's different between them.
Mhm.
So the core of the game is all exactly the same. You get a set of 5 characters at the beginning of each round that you can buy. You can buy characters from that set. They've each got a race and a class. Some of them have got 2 of one.
Yep.
And you combine people with similar races and or classes to get your buff and to get buffs. And sometimes certain clans do synergize with each other. So it's all about finding that end game composition that just works really well with the guys that you bought. So that's the core of the game, and it's similar in both games. So for differences, number one difference, instead of a square-based 4-row system, the Underlords version is very chess-like in its board. Like, it is squares, and it's 8 by 8. It is square, and you get access to half of that, whereas the opponent gets the other half, obviously. Teamfight Tactics shrinks that a little bit. They have a hexagon-based system that's 6 squares or 6 hexagons, and you get 3. So it's a little bit different. And the way units interact with each other and target each other is a little bit different.
Indeed.
In Underlords, the base unit cap is 10, whereas in TFT, it's 9. And while Underlords games frequently get to 10, I find it's pretty rare for people to get to level 9 in TFT.
Yeah. So like usually the average is like 7, isn't it? Really, 7, 8.
7 or 8,
actually 7
yeah.
or 8.
So that leads me to one of my main points that probably one of the biggest distinguishing features of this game is the fact that whereas Dota tends to encourage you to go wide and build larger teams and get your synergies earlier, I find that TFT heavily rewards tall strategies, which is to say to get 1 or 2 of your guys leveled up and ranked up as quickly as possible, stacking them with powerful items, and then just letting them carry your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that valid.
Which it kind of, I think I've sort of discussed this before. It kind of feels like that simulates what sort of
Feels like LOL.
LOL's MOBA style actions are.
Yeah. Feed the one character and watch him carry you.
Yeah, and I can't
Welcome
really
to
say.
Summoner's Rift.
I can't really say for certain, how the Underlord system compares to Dota. All I can say is what it looks like on paper and in practice. So that's kind of interesting. I like that. I don't even know, and I don't really know how it is. I don't know how mechanically they've made it so that those games feel so differently, but it definitely follows through on that in the sense that I find in Dota there are a lot more global buffs. Like, each clan or whatever, each clan and each race has different buffs. You know, you can get, you know, beasts, or I think they're called savages in Underlords. They give your whole team a percentage attack damage buff. And I find that there's a lot more global buffs in Underlords, like the savages do all your teammates, even if you only have 2 of them. Nagas give you, I think they're called scales or something. Like I said, I'm gonna be using interchangeable terms between original auto chess and Underlords because they changed some names. They changed some words. The Nagas provide a magic resistance buff to your entire team if you have 2 of them. Mages, they do magic damage similar to sorcerers and TFT. That's for your entire team as well.
Okay.
So like those are just examples of like synergies they only need like 2 of or 3 of on your team, and it affects your entire team. Whereas TFT tends to be a little bit more exclusive. A lot of the buffs tend to only affect either like one character on your team, or you know, only the members of your team that that are from that clan. With some exceptions, you know, like the voids let you do, you know, reduce the enemy armor by 50% for all basic attacks on your team, but you only get 1 stage of that.
Yeah. So generally that's the thing, isn't it? Because like sort of nobles Imperials and wild are probably the ones, aren't they? Where the first level of their thing just only affects other.
With wilds, even the second level of it, I believe, only affects other wilds.
Yeah, and then there's their gold ability or their max ability that affects all allies.
But that's the same with noble. Noble, their max 1 affects all allies.
Yeah, so they're a little bit funny that way. In the wilds, it's like they only affect wilds at first, and then they affect everyone. So it's like there's kind of like it's kind of half and half there, and so yeah, it does tend to be like structurally, it just tends to be a playstyle that rewards tall strategy versus wide strategy. Not to say that wide isn't important. Not to say that tall isn't important in Dota. Not that or that wide isn't important in TFT. But yeah, that I find is like the biggest point of differentiation between the two, and I'm not sure which style I like more. Obviously, everyone's more taken with the TFT style because that's what everyone's playing right now.
Yeah.
I kind of like elements from both. There's also the fact that in in Underlords you just play straight PvP, and every 5 levels on the 5 or on the 0 you fight minions.
Yeah.
Whereas in TFT, every so often the game is broken up by carousel rounds. The game also starts with a carousel round.
Yeah. Actually,
Where
sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like where basically everyone, depending based on what their health is, they will take turns picking a free champion from a spinning carousel in the middle, who are all pre-equipped with some items. Sometimes they're basic items, sometimes they're full items, and so that's another distinguishing factor for TFT.
Yeah, I was about to say, considering because the guys that made this, because this was also getting up on the news, the guys who made the original mod for Dota 2 made the mobile version of Auto Chess, and I did notice in that there is sort of TFT, the shared draft is exclusive to them, really.
Yeah,
so,
and I think it's kind of an interesting system. I think it's an interesting balancing mechanism because it's like the lowest health player gets to pick first, so they kind of get first dibs at whatever character they want or whatever item they want, depending on what they want to focus on.
Yeah.
The versus Dota's distinguishing characteristic, which is that during minion rounds, instead of getting a random selection of items, which was kind of how the game originally played in the original auto chess, you get to pick from a list of items, a single item, and some of them are equipment, just like they are in TFT, but then you also get to pick from a list of. Sometimes you get global items, which basically just have a passive buff for, either your entire team or a certain clan that you have. So you can kind of build a more permanent team based on how those go. And if you happen to lose to the minions, depending on how many are left, I think you get like certain items locked away.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, they're it's interesting how they've managed to create two very similar but very different games, in the sense that they have different strategies, but at the same time, I think people who play either will at least understand both, because there is a certain degree of overlap in terms of like abilities and function. I can tell you as someone who's played both. It's like Garen plays very similarly to Juggernaut, who's from Underlords. Varus plays very similarly to Wind Ranger, I think his name is Windrunner or Wind Ranger, something like that. It's there's certain equivalent units.
Okay.
Things I would like. Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just about to say, sort of like they've got their similarities on that, and it's their sort of like you discussed before. It's how they deal with that in terms of either board or sort of the way they distance themselves with the I've forgotten the names of them now, the synergies and all that. So yeah, no, it's good to know. So you were just saying there before I interrupted what you'd like to see from these.
Things I'd like to see. I think I can say that I like Underlords just a little bit more, but that's not really fair of me to say, because in all fairness, Underlords is a more complete game. It's based on a game that's been, consistently updated and modified and such and so forth for, like a year or whatever, however long this has been going on. Probably not that long, a few months at least. But it's a more complete game. It's based on a more complete game. It's had more testing. It's had more balance. It's got more stuff in it. And I think I will grow to like TFT more over time as more stuff is added to it. Obviously, there needs to be more characters. That's like my number one thing right now, because there's just not enough.
Well,
yeah, the strategies at this moment can just, once you've seen like working strategies of it, you've seen them all at that point. I don't know if Steph was gonna sort of say this as well, but they have had their teaser that they are introducing characters into it, starting with Twisted Fate for Teamfight Tactics.
but they'll also bring in a Flaming Amumu.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're also we're going to bring out skin-based characters and all.
That's what I was actually going to mention, the skin-based characters, which will change their races and maybe some of their other stats.
Yeah, because right now there's a pretty finite number of viable team compositions.
Mm-hmm.
Like Yordles are pretty strong.
Yordles,
Glacials tend to be very strong. Sorcerer teams are very strong.
I've never had anyone build a sorcerer team.
I've seen them. It's tough because you really need like all six of the sorcerer.
Is it a bit like the noble, where you need all the nobles to make it useful?
Yeah, like Aurelion Solo is really strong in that team. He really makes it. So if you get the 6 sorcerers with him, you're pretty much locked in. You just need some degree of front row, like maybe a couple knights or something like that, and you'll be pretty good. So yeah, there's a finite number of viable strategies in that game, which is a little bit of a bummer. But knowing that League of Legends has probably double as many characters to draw upon than what they already have in the game, I know they have lots of room for expansion. It'll just take time to balance and test everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Certain characters I find either strong or really weak. Like I find, for example, Yordles seem really strong. Like for 6 Yordles, you get 60% evasion. That seems pretty brutal, honestly. Yeah. Compare that to the equivalent race, which was the elves originally, which became the elusive team in Underlords. They in auto chess they went like increments of 25, so 25%, 50, and then 75 if you got 9, which if you have 9 elves, I mean, good for you. And then in Underlords they went from 25 to 45, and then I don't know, 60 or 65 or something like that. So they not only are they way less evasive, but one thing that's also a very defining trait about the elusive team is that they don't do a lot of area damage. Most of their attacks are single targeting and like healing and things like that. Whereas Yordles, on the other hand, tend to have access to a very generous amount of area damage, not quite as much as like a sorcerer team or something like that, or a glacial team, but more than enough to make up for, their relatively squishy build. And with that 60% evasion, the thing about Underlords is that attacking and also being attacked both contribute heavily towards your mana total, whereas in Teamfight Tactics, the amount of mana you get from damage is pretty minimal compared to how much you get from attacking.
Yeah.
So being able to dodge people is almost strictly beneficial in TFT, whereas elusives at least had to bite the bullet of not getting mana as quickly. Were you trying to say something, Steph? I saw you try to queue in a couple times.
No. I actually just looked up because you were saying that League of Legends will have more characters to pull up than Dota, and they actually have 30 more characters.
I don't mean like League versus Dota. I just mean like comparing League starting roster to, it's what it is, what they have to draw from. I mean, we were just playing an ARAM, and we noted that out of the 10 characters playing, only 2 were in auto chess. So there's lots to draw on.
Yeah, indeed.
But just letting you, there is around 30 characters more in League of Legends than there is in Dota at this minute.
Yeah, so we got lots of room to grow. So I'm not worried about that. But there are certain balancing issues that I am not crazy about. I don't like the fact that, Yordles can sit there, dodge 60% of their attacks, then just cast all their AoE. You've got Lulu, who's broken as hell. You put that one item on her that gives her...
Everyone with crowd effects in that at the minute is broken to hell.
Yeah, it's like you give that one
her,
character...
Cho'Gath, trying to think who else. Cannon, in a way, as long as his ult's hitting everyone gets stunned instantly.
Well, here's I think a big part of that is that there's no cooldowns, really. Like, like there are certain characters who can only cast their ability once, like shapeshifters can only do their thing once. But like basically, as long as people have enough mana, they can cast their ability. No questions asked. Whereas Dota actually has cooldown timers for all of the abilities.
I think that's why they gave Kassadin the ability he's got. Because every time if you can build a fast hitting Kassadin, whoever he's hitting isn't building mana, because he takes their mana.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got the mana hatred there, and also the fact that he's the one character who doesn't have an ultimate or doesn't have a skill that casts based on mana.
But I think that's why he's got that shield for when he attacks.
Yeah. So they've got that. But like what Duncan was saying, some characters like Lulu get broken purely because of one item. Anyone who builds the spear is winning with a Lulu.
A Lulu, that spear's been put on Lulus, Lucians, Cho'Gaths. I've seen some of them being put on in late games, especially on Leona.
Yeah.
Just watching her be able to spam her shield on almost everyone because everyone's got it by the end of it is ridiculous.
I will say, and going back, continuing with this balance discussion, it's like, I feel like there are definitely some characters who are just blatantly better or worse than other characters. Like, let's take a look at some, like, level 1 characters, okay? Like, there's no comparing a Vayne to a Tristana, Like, you put any amount of attack speed on Vayne, or if you silver her up early, it's like there's no comparison between her and a Tristana, or a Darius, He's fantastic for a level 1 character. That ability to just, AoE damage and heal based on that damage. That's pretty substantial for a level 1 character. Darius is a character that you can carry into the end game. You build him with the right items, support him well enough. He'll absolutely be a mainstay in your composition.
Just build him tanky and have a Lulu.
Which is very rare in Underlords, for example. It's very rare to keep stage 1 characters all the way to the end unless you get them gold really early on and they're just that, important to your composition. Most of the time they get replaced by stronger characters over time. The one thing I will say about it, while I'm not sure how I feel about it, the loot system compared to Underlords, it's kind of up and down. I like this loot system better than the auto chest version, just because it's I like that it's very simple. I like that any 2 basic items will combine into something else. In auto chest, it was you just got a bunch of random shit, and sometimes they combined into a better item, and sometimes they didn't, and if it didn't, fuck you, basically. But in auto chest, in TFT, that's not really a problem, because anytime you have a pair of items, you have something. It may not be great, it may not be what you wanted, but it is something.
See, the only thing I don't like it with that is when you have that free carousel, and you get the character you need to evolve someone, and then because it's got that item and you've got another basic item on it, it fuses the items together at the same time.
Yeah, that is a bit of a problem. There are two features that were featured in other versions, other auto chests that I wish could be used in TFT. One is a combination lock, where you can prevent an item from being combined with other items. And in Underlords, specifically, you can move items around. They're not locked into a character.
I would love to have that, to be honest, moving the items. The amount of times I've had items on characters and I'm I really need it on my DPS, but that's my highest level character, so it's more beneficial on it at the minute. And it's but then later in the game I could have a silver vein, a gold vein, and that would still be silver, and it'd be I need to move it to that, and the only way to get it off is to sell it, and it's but that's destroying my defense.
Yeah. So yeah, there are things I like about TFT compared to Underlords and auto chess. There are things that I don't like, and there are things that I know aren't as good as they could be, but I expect them to get better over time. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover about TFT. I know that was a pretty long segment, but I a lot to say about the game. Obviously we're all pretty taken with it. We've been playing it a lot the last week or two.
Yeah.
Both as groups and individually.
No, I understand, and yeah, no, certainly it's because we've been talking about it. It's something that we should discuss. So, no, perfect. Cheers for that, Duncan. And you know what? I'm going to find this is going to be a bit of an odd one. I think we should move.
Are we still not playing the oddest? Are we still? Is this the oddest again?
No, it's not the oddest. What I was going to do, and this is a cheeky one on this, I don't think there's been that great news this week. I've looked at what we posted in our news, and
been really slow.
Yeah, and due to it being a slow news week, and with us having the nice discussion of the games that we played here, I think we're going to move to the wrap up, and controversial as it may be. But yeah, we can move through to the wrap up and start by stating that going forward, until we get bored, we're going to have a new thing in the schedule for Immaterial gamers. Teamfight Thursdays.
Teamfight Thursdays, running down the track.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're still gonna look at how we're gonna sort of make this as it is. Because while we're enjoying Teamfight Tactics and LOL, and maybe, I'm not guaranteeing it, DOTA Underlords and stuff like that, the auto chess games, and LOL specifically, we've got back into. Exploiting that. Might as well keep it going as a sort of a regular segment, like I say, until we get bored. So, on Thursdays, there'll be LOL or auto battler based stuff going on. It may even be a point that we throw ARAMs in there, because, I mean, still technically at that point, it's team fighting.
Yeah, that'd be alright.
So,
Let an IRAM.
yeah.
You know what the great thing about RM is that unlike TFT, which is a pain in the ass for a single person to record everything, RMs are relatively focused. You know, you can get most of the action on one screen.
Yeah, one bridge, one sort of thing. And with League of Legends, or with Riot announcing that they're going to be doing death recaps soon, like actual kill cam stuff, it'll get even more interesting. So, yeah. So we recorded a couple of more Teamfight Tactics games over the weekend, so we'll be looking at getting some more in that, and then based on, because we don't want to burn ourselves out, but we'll be cautious about what we're doing on that. And then, what the hell?
I'm gonna stop doing that. I got a message on my phone and I was just going through it, and I keep hitting videos where they're not muted, and it's just keep coming up.
Bad man.
Hey, I got messages. I need to answer some.
Sometimes. But we've got that, and then we've got the schedule that we've got going on at the moment. You know what I'm gonna do this time? It's gonna be odd, but I'm gonna start on a Tuesday, because that's when the podcast comes out. I've thought about it. It makes more sense to do it from when the podcast comes out.
That what?
So,
That what?
the schedule.
The scheduling.
It makes more sense starting from when the podcast comes out, because that's usually the thing
It's
that
going to be a Tuesday to Monday schedule.
Yeah, Tuesday to Mondays. So Tuesday's podcast. Well done. You're listening to it. Hello. Maybe.
Welcome.
Currently, every other Wednesday is Shattered Reflections at the moment.
With an asterisk on that.
Yeah, it's a Black Mirror asterisk. We're trying.
Well, Darius is travelling.
Yeah, but Thursdays is now Teamfight Thursday.
Teamfight Thursday.
Fridays play session, which means it can get cleaned up of what could have been a whole load of Teamfight Tactics, and that's from more our sort of competitive party games.
So probably more tabletop.
No, Fridays. Oh, duh. Fridays is when we record play session, but Fridays is actually when War Table comes out. Duh. Saturdays is play session. Please refer to previous spiel. Sundays is sibling rivalry. Asterisk.
Whenever it comes out.
In theory. Asterisk, yes.
Yeah. And Monday is currently going rogue.
Going rogue? Where's it going? Where's
So,
Monday going?
No, Monday's not going anywhere, but the show Going Rogue is going on the Monday. In the most unrogue-like thing. But I've done, as this podcast comes out, attempts 2 and 3 of the updated aim for that game. And let's just say there's 7 more attempts to go. That'll be fun. And then we come back to Tuesdays again. And we've all gone full circle.
All my life's a circle.
Yeah.
Did you say your wife's circle?
No, all my life's a circle.
Oh, I thought you said wife. I was going to say, you've not got a wife.
You know, for some of us, that's not a bad thing.
Honest, none of us have a wife here.
Matt's got a wife.
Matt does.
I said here. Like, right now.
Okay, fair enough. But okay, so if you liked our weird rambling and heavy discussion on auto battlers, I hope you do, because I enjoyed listening to it. Then please,
I enjoyed talking about it.
Yeah, Duncan liked talking about it. And if you want, want to hear more stuff that Duncan and the rest of us like to talk about, like, share, subscribe, click the bell, comment, cross-post on other places.
And don't forget about them rumbers.
We got the rumbers, yeah. So we gotta say thanks to Duncan and Steph.
Hey, good to be here.
Okie doke. And until next time, please, for God's sake, don't kill each other. That is mostly made apparent based on what we said right at the beginning of the damn podcast.
Unless it's with a rumba.
Not even with a rumba in this instance.
Why not? It would be fun.
No.
Maybe
They're
not
supposed
for
to
the person
clean
you-
up the mess, not make the mess.
What if it makes a mess and then cleans it up?
Yeah,
I mean,
see?
you'd never know at that point.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
fine. The Rumba will
Then
clean
that's
it up and take away the evidence, and then when the forensic comes, the Rumba will be just sat there going, I've cleaned up.
And I
So-
would argue that if you died to a Roomba, I mean, that's kind of your fault, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not if I'm using it as a weapon.
Then that Roomba feels a bit awkward.
That Rumba's a bit used.
Yeah. So, until next week, have a good one. Goodbye.
Bye.
Signor. Why did I say signor?
I don't know.